I'm Dick Schlatter, Richard Schlatter from Battle Creek, Michigan. I'm here in the beautiful Amway Grand Plaza Hotel in downtown Grand Rapids at Art Prize 9. I just feel honored to even be here amidst the company of some of the best artists in the world who have come here to display their work. My piece is simply called A. Lincoln. It's actually and I have a brochure here with a picture on the front. It's actually a portrait that I created using approximately 24,500 pennies. Now, that didn't just happen overnight. The way the idea kind of evolved is, first of all, I'm a graphic designer, and I've been involved in the graphic design business for over 50 years. So I tend to think creatively and maybe a little bit differently and out of the box that the average person does. One day in December, I was dumped out a jar of coins that I had to count to take to the bank, and I had literally a couple hundred pennies laid out, and I was really intrigued by the colors, the different hues, darks and lights and so forth. So I kind of played around with it and created this little design just using the pennies that I had before me. And it occurred to me that I could create a incredible portrait using just pennies. So I thought, well, Lincoln is on the Lincoln penny, and that would be a good subject to create a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Well, then, after I did that, I decided that maybe what I do is download a picture that I got online and blew it up. It was a low res, so I pixelized it, blew it up to 8 inches by 12 inches, and then I created a grid line on it and made 1 inch equal 1 foot. So I realized that the final piece would be 8 feet by 12 feet. So then I thought, well, that's going to require a lot of pennies. So I took 1 square foot and figured there was 256 pennies in the foot. I just, by laying those out in one line, I got 16 pennies. So I did the math and figured up that it would be over 25,000 pennies, or close to 25,000 pennies, to fill an 8 foot by 12 foot board. That was about the first point that I decided to quit, and thought that's just kind of overwhelming and probably too big of a project to take on. But it just kept gnawing at me, and I thought, there's got to be a way to do that. So I went to the bank and got a couple rolls of pennies and went through them to find out how many dark ones and the different colors in there, because I knew I had to have a lot of really, really dark pennies, as you can see in the picture, to do his coat, his beard, and that. And again, using mathematical equation, I figured it'd take about 10,000 dark pennies. So again, I started sorting through the pennies and started putting them in buckets by colors, dark, light, and medium, basically. And ended up being over 60,000 pennies that I sorted through to get enough of the dark ones. The real light ones I used for his face were brand new uncirculated ones, so those were easy to buy all rolled. When I got to that point, the next step was to figure out how I was going to build the board that I was going to do it on. So I hired a friend of mine who's a carpenter, and he took a little bit longer to get it done than I anticipated. This was in mid-January, and I wanted to get started on it by the end of January. And he didn't get it done until early in February, and so by the time I drew out the image on the board, it was actually February 12th. That's a date that kind of pops into most people's head, because that's actually Lincoln's birthday. Now, that was not what I had planned, but that kind of was what the date fell on. So I started working on it, And things didn't go really well at first. I was up on a big platform ladder, and I actually had a couple of buckets of pennies up there I had sorted. And when I moved the ladder, they fell off, so I had about 2,000 pennies went flying all over the place in this factory that I was doing it at. By the way, I did this at Dare Products, which is a little manufacturing facility in Battle Creek, Michigan. So that didn't go well, and I got kind of frustrated at that. And then after I actually started working on it for a few days, I got off as far as those pennies have to be tucked in and tapped real tightly, and if they're not, they don't line up properly. And I got to a point where I had to chip off about 200 pennies I had on there and start over. And so that was the second time where I said, I think I'm going to quit. This is too much, and I don't think it's going to work. Shortly after that, I was watching a basketball game on TV, and